What are some tips and tricks to make the Tomahawk attacking technique better? What's up, I'm Alex from learnbeachvolleyballfast.com. This is going to be an interesting video to make because for some people this is a long-awaited video, while some others are going to think, why on earth would this guy teach something like this on a beach volleyball tutorial YouTube channel? So there's a little backstory for this video, which is that a couple years ago I made this other video about this guy Eric and his attacking style and how it's surprisingly successful even though it doesn't look like something that should be very dangerous in beach volleyball. And now it's simply time to make the follow-up videos for that video. So if you haven't seen the first video, I would highly suggest you go and watch that before this one because it's gonna make way more sense that way. But one thing that I did say in that video that I'm gonna say again, this is a attacking style that's gonna suit some people and not some others. So if you think this is a joke attacking style that you don't want to learn, feel free to go and watch some other videos. I also have videos on normal attacking. And for those of you that recognize that this can be a good tool, let's continue making this video. Actually, I do think that kind of everyone can learn something from this video, no matter if you have a normal attacking style or not, but I'll leave that for someone else to decide. So what's going to happen here is that this video is going to be about the tomahawking technique, actually technically how we do it. And then also for all of you Eric Nygård fans out there, I actually got Eric Nygård to be on the channel. So I have about 30 minutes of footage where me and him discuss his strategy on the court. Basically how he uses the technique, when he does what, etc, etc. So those are probably going to be split up into two videos that will be in this video series after this video also. So how much can there actually be to this technique? Isn't it very, very, very simple? I'll admit that this is way more simpler than a jump and spike technique to attack in beach volleyball, but I still think that I have some cool details here that you haven't thought about. So let's start with the hand position. How do we hold our hands? Basically, one of the easiest ways to explain it is that when people put their platform together, they quite often have this diamond formation. Pancake, pancake, sausage, sausage. Some people explain it like. And if you have this formation, it looks like this on the backside. But if you from here open it up, so I basically just do that, almost as if you were holding a tennis ball. So here's the pancake, pancake. And then I just... Then what happens is that you actually sort of get a platform here. A platform something like the bottom of this cup or whatever it is. A flat, round platform. And this platform you can then bounce the ball against pretty well. Some people think that you actually kind of do it like this, like a ninja chop or a plow or something like this. But actually I do think that there's a lot more control if you just open it up and create a platform. Okay, so now that we have the hand positioning out of the way, we can actually get into the really interesting stuff. And this is actually what I believe is sort of the secret with the tomahawking technique. So to be successful with the tomahawking technique, you need to be able to make these very short balls that just barely go over the net. But also the long ones. And what I'm going to talk about now has relevance to both of these, but let's start with the short balls. So with the short balls, we need to be very precise with how much speed and power we put into the ball. And to get that precision, I'm going to introduce you to the angle concept. So what's the angle concept? Basically, when we hit the ball, the power is going to come into the ball from an angle. But what happens if we change this angle where the power comes from? Well, if we change it this way, one thing that's going to happen is that the ball's going to get some topspin, which we'll talk about more in a minute. But another thing that's going to happen is that the more you change the angle this way, the less power the ball is going to get in that direction. Okay, so making beach volleyball tutorial videos at public courts is not the easiest thing out there. Now it started raining and there's also some sort of party here next to me. And they started playing music and screaming. So at least I tried. Now I'm gonna go home and continue making the video in a calmer environment. Okay, a bit of a calmer environment here at home. So let's continue with the angle concept. I want you to see that these two sticks are different lengths, and in this case they're going to represent different amounts of power into the ball. So this one is a more powerful hit than this one. So we're going to talk about making the ball go straight that way, straight to the side. And in that case, I want you to understand that if I have this amount of power straight to the side, it's going to move that way roughly the same amount as if I have this more powerful hit the ball from an angle. And why does this matter? Well, my argument is that for the human body, I believe it is easier to do precise adjustments on the angle that you hit the ball compared to the amount of power you hit the ball with. So before I showed you these two different sticks, but these actually are quite different. This one is almost double as much power as the small one. But if we want to do the very short, very precise attacks that just about go over the net, but not more than that, because if they go much more over the net than that, then they're actually quite easy for the defenders to pick up. Then we need to be way more precise. We maybe need to have this much of a difference in the attacking power. And my argument is that going from this one to this one, basically hitting straight this hard or hitting straight that hard, is actually difficult for us to do. It is much easier for us to have a low power hit, and then instead of trying to make this one happen, so use a little bit less force to make this happen, we can just simply put a little bit more angle so that we in practice make this one happen. So I hope that explanation makes sense. Basically, I just think that the angle change is a finer tool with more finesse compared to deciding how much power you use. Okay, so now let's talk about the topspin aspect from hitting with an angle that I mentioned earlier. So what does topspin do with the ball? Well, basically the thing that pretty much everyone knows is that it makes the ball dive faster, which is very relevant on the long ones to the back of the court. Eric always says that this is very important. Also relevant on the short ones. But the thing that most people don't think about is that topspin, what is it gonna do if the ball hits the tape of the net? It's basically gonna up the chances that the ball will climb over the net and just roll and land right on the other side of the net. And this actually happens surprisingly often if you play against Eric or someone else that can do the Tomahawk technique well. A lot of people think it's luck that's happening, but of course there's some luck involved in it, but it's not only luck when you have deliberately made the ball have topspin so that you up the chances of the ball climbing over the net the times that it does hit the net. Is there more not so very obvious secrets to this technique? Yes, there is. The last one I want to give you is basically when you hold your hands this way, you can have them relaxed and very loose, and especially this muscle here can be loose, or you can contract your hand so that both your wrist gets harder and also this muscle here, which is a big part of what is actually going to touch the ball, is also harder and contracted. So when you have the hands loose and relaxed, the ball will sort of give, or the hand will give a little bit for the ball, and when you contract the ball will bounce a little bit more. Okay, so far I have given you 3 different variables that all sort of influence how much power goes into the ball. So I have given you how hard you actually hit with your hands and arms. I have given you which angle you hit the ball and also how contracted your hands are. And the way to learn this technique and get really good at it is basically that it's a simple technique, but I want you to understand that these variables, they're all like knobs that you can twist and turn separately, and you can do all sorts of combinations of them. So to learn this technique, actually what you can do is just go to the court and self-toss to yourself, and for example, try what happens if you put some angle into the hit and you have your hands contracted. And then afterwards try to do the same thing but with hands relaxed. Then try to not put angle into the ball but put some more power into the ball or less power into the ball, etc., etc. So that you basically, every single rep, you get more data of different combinations you can do of these variables. And that way you all the time get smarter about how you should do to make the ball go there or wherever you're trying to make the ball go. So in a sense, you're building an intelligence of how to solve every problem. And also when you're further off the net, when the set is further off the net, then you need to change these variables again, etc., etc. Some people ask me, why not just play with the pokey? Why do this tomahawking whatever technique? And my answer to that is there's probably people that are way better at poking than I am. I have more precision with the tomahawk than with a standing pokey. And I believe it is because the pokey is just one arm, and sure, you can reach higher than with the tomahawk, but you don't have as much fine control, especially of what angle you hit the ball at. Because this is just more stable, so it's just way easier to have this like, okay, I'll do a little bit of that or a little bit of that, or contract a little bit more, or soften my hands or whatever. So I just think you have better access to these variables with this technique compared to the pokey. But there might be people that think differently than I do, and if they do, that's fine too. Next, I want to talk about the long ones, the ones that you send all the way to the baseline, back of the court, on the other side of the court. So I personally, 2 summers ago, my shoulder was hurt, so I couldn't really play normally, which was when I played with this tomahawk technique the most. So I haven't played with it super much lately, but I know that when that summer was, I was really good at making the short balls, and people were very confused when I did it, and they couldn't believe their eyes and whatnot. But whenever I tried to do the long ones back to the baseline, it was pretty easy for them to read me and understand that that's what I was doing. So lately now, when I've been planning on making this video, I went back and looked a little bit on Eric and how he does it, and also did some experimentation of my own. And basically what I learned is that there's 2 ways to make the ball go long. And one is to sort of take momentum with your body and sort of make this big movement that is actually pretty obvious. That you're gonna do it. And the other way that is way more difficult to do actually is that you come in sort of as if you're gonna do the short one, just a small one, but in the very end, so super late, right before you're gonna hit the ball, you sort of have to contract your whole body, your core, you push a little bit from the legs, you really contract the core, and you sort of hit the ball a little bit like a float serve. When people float serve, they sometimes talk about just like hitting the ball and almost like bouncing back. And it's something similar to that. So I haven't done this technique a lot myself. I called Eric today to confirm, because I was gonna record this video today. And he said, yeah, that sounds like something I do. So what I would add to this experimentation session, if you want to learn this technique, is to also really try to feel this difference. On the long balls, how long can you wait until you just contract the body and send the ball into the back of the court? And also this late contraction thing rather than a bigger movement is more difficult to control. So you're going to need to find the reps to understand how to very late contract the body to make this ball happen, but still not send it too far, because it's kind of easy to just like send it out of the court instead. I'm slowly starting to feel that it's almost ridiculous how many details I'm putting into your brain in this video, but I have a few more for you. One is the side hits. So if we have the hands like this and we hit the ball, what I have realized is that to make the ball not go straight, but go either or, basically the only thing you need to do is right at the contact point, you just sort of do this. So from this to or. So it's just basically the heel of, or whatever this might be, this part of the hand just like pops out a little bit. It almost feels like you're doing this, which you can also do, but you can just, and that basically makes it unreadable because the ball comes and then it just flies to the side. And this can be very useful, for example, if the set is right in the middle of the net and then you have the option of doing the short left or short right. If you can also do the long ones with the late core activation from that position, you're pretty unreadable. Also, another aspect is that you don't always have to face the opponents. You can also be facing to the side and, for example, do backwards tomahawks, like sort of this over the shoulder. Or also, if you have the side towards your opponents, then this side hit can actually become a long ball. So in a sense, your goal here is to become this sort of weird machine that just sends balls into all of the four corners and more spots on the court without the opponents being able to read you at all. It's just this randomizer machine that makes people frustrated on the other side of the net because they have no idea what's going to happen. Then two more variables that are not sort of up to you, that are also part of this whole equation, is wind is one. That's a lot of people are used to adapting to wind, but basically you need to understand that the way you do a short ball one day is not going to be the same amount of power that you do the short ball the other day if there's a different wind. This one a lot of people don't think about, but it's very important because this is such a precise technique, is that if the ball is pumped harder or softer, it's going to bounce different amounts against your hands. So again, the angle, the power and how much you contract your hand, you have to adapt to how hard the ball is. Also, if you play in cold temperatures, the ball sort of bounces less, so you also have to adapt to that. Normal beach volleyball players don't really have to think about this, but if you're going for these super short balls, the ones that you have to be so precise for, you need to think about also these details. Whew, this has been an intense video. I calculated, I've given you 10 different variables in total. Actually 9, the 10th is set height and the spin on the ball of the set, which we'll talk about more in the upcoming videos where I discuss with Eric about this technique. But basically, all these 10 different variables, these are all knobs on this machine, and you can make unlimited different combinations of these to become sort of a master DJ of the knobs and become a really good tomahawk attacker. So, as I said before, if you want to learn this technique, you can go out and practice. You can practice on your own, you can practice with a partner, both are good. You can play games. But really just try different combinations of these knobs on every single hit, and you over time just build this intelligence so that you understand how you can make the ball go into unbelievable places on every single ball. That just confuses your opponents and then you win the game. So whether you're going to end up playing with the tomahawk attacking technique or not, I hope that this video has given your volley nerd brain something to chew on. And for those of you that are not going to play with tomahawk but like the way that I break down skills, yes, I do have similar breakdowns of also normal attacking, spiking, and other ways to attack the ball in beach volleyball. Some of those videos are already existing, link in the description below, and there's much more to come in this project. And also these two follow-up videos to this video are coming soon too, where I talk with Eric about the strategy that he uses in combination with this technique. And actually these strategies are really good also for everyone that plays this sort of shots and four corner game or pokey game or whatever you might want to call it. So I think these videos are going to be helpful for a lot of people out there. So obviously this is stuff that you don't want to miss. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you should definitely do that. And you should also click the like button on the video. You should write some comments below, especially if there's any questions. And you should definitely tell your friends, because the more you tell your friends about this project, the faster it grows and the easier it becomes for me to make these breakdown videos for you guys. So it's really a co-creation. The more you guys help me, the more I can help you. Thank you for watching. Have fun. Hope you learned something, and hope you maybe get to play around with the tomahawking technique. Talk to you soon again.